manage 45 short-term rental properties. And the part that surprises people, running them takes less than 10 hours a week of my time. And today I'm doing something I have never done on this channel. I'm opening the books on years of real numbers from two of the properties in my portfolio that I own. A $79,000 oceanfront studio condo and a $780,000 oceanfront luxury condo, both in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, 10 times apart in price. And I'm not just showing you the good years. You're gonna see the years the studio went backward, because those 2 years taught me more than any of the wins. And by the end of this video, I'm gonna prove something that might completely change what you buy next. The cheapest property I own puts more actual cash in my pocket every year than the one that costs 10 times as much. If you're into real numbers instead of hype, that's exactly what we do here. So hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if we haven't met, I'm Stacy St. John. I bought my first short-term rentals in 2020 while I was still working a demanding corporate job. And I've since grown that portfolio into a multi-million-dollar portfolio, plus a community of tens of thousands of women doing the same thing. I wrote the book on co-hosting, literally. It's called The Co-Host Code. And everything I'm about to show you comes straight from my own spreadsheets. Data over drama, my friends. Now let's get into it. Here's how this whole thing started. In 2020, I bought my first two short-term rentals, little oceanfront condos in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And here's a small little detail. I live 10 hours away in Ohio with a full-time corporate career. Now, most new hosts hear that and think it was a disadvantage. I couldn't run over to greet guests. I couldn't certainly do my own turnovers. I couldn't pop in to fix a leaky faucet on a Saturday morning. And honestly, that was the greatest gift my business ever received, because I physically could not do everything myself. I never built the habits that trap most hosts. From day one, I had to build systems. I had to hire help. I had to trust a team and manage with data instead of drive-bys. The things that most hosts spend years painfully unlearning, I never learned them in the first place. So if you've been telling yourself you can't invest because the good markets are too far away, or you can't imagine handing your baby over to a team, I want you to hold on to this. Distance doesn't prevent success in this business. Distance forces the exact habits that create it. Let me tell you what happened with those first two condos, because this is a lesson I wish somebody had taught me before I spent months agonizing over my perfect first short-term rental purchase. The first one was an oceanfront one-bedroom. I paid $90,000 for it. I put about $9,000 into rehabbing and furnishing it. 1 year later, I sold it for $189,000. That second condo, I bought it for $79,000. Spent about $7,000 on the rehab and furnishing, and I sold it a year later for $159,000. Now, full transparency, that was when property values were exploding, and I'm certainly not promising that you are gonna double your money in a year. That's not the lesson. The lesson is what I did next. I rolled the proceeds from those two sales of my first two condos into what's called a 1031 exchange. And it's a tax strategy that lets you defer capital gains when you trade up, if you will, for another investment property. So I exchanged into a 3-bedroom oceanfront luxury condo. The purchase price was $780,000. And because I had made so much money on those first two properties, I rolled that into the purchase and did not have to bring a single penny to closing. From a $90,000 condo to a $780,000 one in about 2 years with no cash out of pocket. Here's why I'm telling you this. So many women in my community are frozen at the starting line, terrified of buying the wrong first property. But your first property is not a forever decision. It's a stepping stone. Buy something solid, run it well, learn everything it has to teach you, and when the time is right, it becomes the fuel for your next move. Now, let's talk about the property this whole video is about. because in that same first year, I bought one more property, a little oceanfront studio condo. And unlike the others, this one has never left my portfolio. It's been there from very early on, which means it can show us something almost no one on YouTube will show you: what 5 years of this business actually look like. I put it under contract in December of 2020 for $79,000. Early in 2021, we rehabbed it. We added a kitchenette, redid the bathroom, and we furnished the whole thing, about $12,000 all in. And we got it listed in late spring. Here's every single year. Remember, in 2021, it was only live for part of the year, and it earned $7,735. In 2022, it earned $31,991. Incredible year. I was thrilled. And this was during the COVID boom, so everybody was getting out of their house and traveling. Then in 2023, $25,536, down a little bit. In 2024, $21,226, down again. 2 straight years of decline. Now, most people making videos like this would quietly skip those 2 years. I'm showing them to you on purpose, because if you understand why that happened, you'll be a smarter investor than most people in this industry. 2022 was inflated for everybody. Travel came roaring back and demand was off the charts. And thousands of new short-term rental listings flooded in. Here's the part that nobody warns you about. When a market gets crowded, the budget properties get squeezed first. A small, inexpensive studio starts to look like a commodity, and commodities compete on one thing only: price. It's a race to the bottom, and let me tell you, I refuse to run to it. So instead of panicking or slashing rates, I did what I always teach. I read the data and I repositioned. Earlier this year, we invested about $5,000 transforming that studio into a romantic getaway, designed around a specific guest and the experience that that couple has been dreaming about, not being the cheapest roof on the beach. And the result? In 2025, it earned $22,280. The slide had leveled off, and this year in 2026, it's on track back up to earn about $27,000. It's the best year yet since the COVID boom. A $5,000 investment driving a lift of thousands of dollars a year, not by dropping prices, but by giving the right guest a reason to choose us. When your numbers dip, that is not necessarily the market telling you to quit. It's the market telling you you may need to reposition. Okay, now the showstopper, that 3-bedroom oceanfront luxury condo. I closed on it in April of 2022 and had it listed on Airbnb by May. Watch what a premium property did through the exact same market that knocked my studio backward. 2022, remember, that's only about 8 months of the year we were live. We earned $61,194. In 2023, we earned $82,391. In 2024, $90,462. And in 2025, $100,738. And this year, it's tracking right around that same number. Growth every single year. So while budget properties were getting squeezed by all that new supply, premium demand held strong. Guests who can pay for a luxury oceanfront experience kept paying for it. That's a real market lesson. And my portfolio taught it to me in real time. So at this point, you're probably wondering which one is actually cash flowing more. And you might assume that the one delivering 6 figures a year versus the one bringing in $27,000, the big condo wins, right? Hold that thought. Here's what those revenue numbers don't show you. What it costs to run each property. And I mean everything. Mortgage, HOA fees, cleaning, utilities, maintenance, all of it. The studio cost me about $15,000 a year to operate. The luxury condo, about $94,800 a year. Bigger mortgage, much bigger HOA fees, bigger everything. So let's do the math together. The condo that brought in $100,738 last year, subtract $94,800 in costs, and my six-figure showstopper luxury condo put roughly $5,900 of cash flow in my pocket. The studio earned $22,280. Subtract $15,000 and it cash flowed about $7,300. And on this year's numbers, it's tracking closer to $12,000 of cash flow. Read that again. The $79,000 studio put more actual money in my pocket than the $780,000 luxury condo. Not per dollar invested, more money, period. And when do you look at it per dollar? This year, the studio is generating about 34 cents of revenue for every dollar of the purchase price. The large 3-bedroom condo generates about 13 cents on the dollar. So the worst property, the one that declined for 2 years, the one that almost anyone watching this could realistically buy, out-earns the dream property nearly 3-to-1 on cost efficiency. Revenue is not return. A big top-line number sounds amazing on YouTube, but expenses scale up right alongside it. Chasing the most impressive property is not the same thing as chasing the best investment. And I'm genuinely curious, now that you've seen both sets of numbers, which one would you rather own? The little studio condo or the luxury showstopper? Drop your answer in the comments and tell me why. I read every one, and I promise the answers will surprise you. Now, here's the part of the story that I really need you to hear, because without it, you'd walk away with the wrong lesson. You might be thinking, Stacy, why on earth would you keep a $780,000 condo that only cash flows a few $1,000s a year? And the answer is, I knew exactly what I was doing when I bought it. I didn't buy that condo to cash flow. I bought it because that is where I plan to retire. That's our future home on the ocean. And in the meantime, my guests are covering the mortgage, the HOA, and every expense, while my property appreciates and my future self gets closer to her sunrise view every single day. And for that job, it's performing beautifully. The studio has a completely different job. I bought it purely as an investment. Its job is yield, turning a small amount of capital into a strong, reliable cash flow. And it does that job well. Same portfolio, same owner, two totally different definitions of success, and both of them intentional. This is the single biggest thing I want you to take from these years of my real numbers. Every property needs a job, and you need to know what that job is before you buy it, not after. Is the job cash flow? Is it appreciation? Is it a future retirement home that your guests can pay for? There's no wrong answer. The only wrong move is buying without that goal, without that job in mind, because a property can't succeed at a job you never gave it. One more thing before I wrap up, because I know some of you have been stuck on something I said at the very beginning. 45 properties, less than 10 hours a week. How is that even possible? It's possible because of everything you just watched, woven together. Because I started 10 hours away and had to build systems from day one. Because every property in my world has a defined job, decisions get made by data instead of drama. And because I have a real team of cleaners, inspectors, guest communications teams, operations teams with clear standards and clear ownership, the business doesn't need me hovering over it to run beautifully. Now, I'm not telling this to you to impress you. I'm telling you this because I talk to women every single week who believe that growing their short-term rental business means surrendering more and more of their life to it. Midnight guest messages, weekends lost to turnovers, a business that owns them. And my numbers, my business tells you otherwise. You are not meant to be your entire business. The whole point of building this the right way intentional properties, honest data, real systems, a real team, is that business funds your life and gives you your time back. Freedom over overwhelm. That is not a slogan, that is a spreadsheet, my friend. And if this video did anything for you, I hope it made you want to look at your own numbers or the numbers on a property you've been eyeing with much clearer eyes. And if you want to do that work with me instead of doing it alone, that's exactly what happens inside my STR Success Accelerator. Every single month, our community gets together for a call I host called Data to Dollars, where we dig into real numbers, just like the ones I opened up for you today, and turn them into real decisions. What to charge, when to reposition, what to buy next, and what job to give it. If you're ready to run your business on data instead of drama, come join us. The link is in the description below. And if you got value from this video, do me a favor and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel, and it tells me you want more transparency like this, not less. Now, if you're ready to evaluate your next property like a real investor, the next thing I want you to watch is my video on the CPR framework, where I show you exactly how I analyze a deal before I buy, the criteria, the price, and the return. It's the perfect next step after this video. And thanks for spending time with me on this. I hope to see you in the next video, and don't forget, lead with data, not drama.